February 25th, 2025, Select Board meeting here in Stow. I want to welcome everyone, those that are in the audience in person and those that are here virtually. Our first order of business is public comment. And I just want to remind everybody, I ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. We allow a total of 5 folks to speak during the public comment time. And I ask that you not speak on anything that is on the present agenda. So with that being said, is there any public comment? Any hands raised? Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so we'll move along. Board member updates and comments. Hector, anything?
Nothing special.
Okay,
Moving along with the comprehensive plan.
that's good to hear.
And Green Advisory Committee of the plastic bag, single-use plastic.
How's that going?
I think we've got the information we need now, and just need to start an educational campaign.
Oh, great, okay.
Nothing from me.
Nothing from Ingeborg.
I attended the MBTA Communities Forum last night. This is I think the third opportunity for input in a variety of ways. I felt like it was a very friendly presentation by the planning board. The room upstairs was full.
Great.
Third floor, and a number of different folks from either boards and committees or also from voters at large, putting dots on various charts and making comments. And so this was feedback on 3 districts that the planning board had narrowed down to from, I think it was 8. And
Right. We're
so,
talking about the 3A.
yes, the 3A. So, which is the dense zoning of allowing up to 15 units per acre.
Right,
And so I was commenting on the one that was thought of as East Lower Village, which is actually down 117, South Red Acre, which is a short section on Red Acre Road, close to 117, and West Stow, which was it's more than 10 acres at the beginning of Hudson Road, off of 117.
Right.
So it's a nice, it's good, as I said, good turnout. And
yeah, and actually, the segue into that is as I start to speak about it, here comes Valerie. We are gonna get an update from the planning board this evening, and I believe the 3A is part of the update?
Sure.
Okay, great. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. My update is, I couldn't attend that last night because I was invited to a tri-town meeting concerning the Neshoba Regional School District and dealing with the ramifications with the numbers that they're dealing with. One of the large issues that came up, they had place marked a 12% increase for the health insurance, and it actually came in at 19%.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Bolton is already facing a $1.8 million deficit, which now with this bumps it, I believe, to 1.9. And Lancaster, actually, when they looked at their books, they're $400,000, almost $500,000 off the mark. We right now at least are holding our own, But yeah, so 2 of the 3 towns are having some difficulty, and from the comments that were made last night, I guess most of the folks in the other 2 towns really don't have the stomach for an override.
No.
So it's going to be interesting times as far as how we progress. As I said myself last night at that meeting, I think we need to begin to really seriously think outside the box to come up with solutions, because the way we're going, it's not sustainable. And it literally will bankrupt all 3 towns. So people heard that. And folks from the other 2 towns did not realize that over 70% of our budget is eaten up by Neshoba and Minuteman. And that doesn't count the debt of the new school.
Right.
So it's
Doesn't feel sustainable.
right, and actually, realistically, I think the district understands that as well. It was a good meeting. I think it was a good groundbreaking and foundation, building block foundation, to see somehow if we can begin to really look at some things and try to move things forward. I do, from the meeting last night, I do commend the district. They were very transparent with their numbers last night and the things that they're facing. They brought out the other issue that they're dealing with, which is another big ticket item is transportation.
Right.
And it was news to me, but with the contracts, when they put them out and the way they're reimbursed back, typically they're never reimbursed back what they're supposed to be. And it's from the state, so it's rather odd situation, but that's also another major factor that's putting pressure on their system. So that's why when they came back, and they've actually got a forum tonight going on to try to explain some of this stuff. So we'll just have to wait and see as far as that goes. The only other comment I have is I had a conversation with Megan Birchmick-Michael, who is not here this evening. She had received a communication about a proclamation for a pride proclamation. And after talking with her, I do think it makes sense to put it on our next agenda, at least just to reaffirm what we have set forth, which is the anti-racism, anti-Semitism, and our pride proclamation that we have put out. I think it does make some sense for us
To renew it.
to reaffirm it, I think, so I think if all of you are in agreement, I'd like to be able to do that on the next agenda, because I do think it's important, and I do agree with Megan that I think we need to put that message back out there that we are a welcoming community, and we take that very seriously, and I think saying it from the top down does make a difference.
It looks like somebody has their hand up.
Yes, you saw that. That was what I was going to say. So it isn't up now, but right as we went from board, public comment to board member update, a hand went up. It's down. I don't know if you're interested.
If it was actually during public comment and we missed it, I'm willing to entertain the comment, sure.
It was Dorothy. Dorothy, are you there?
I could just send an email up because I did miss it. I'll send email, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Just wanted to give you the opportunity, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, town administrator's report.
Yes, that's me. Well, it's not me. I'm reading this for the town administrator. Thank you very much. So Denise has provided me with a report for you today. She wanted me to let you know that she has RSVP'd for both JT and Megan to attend the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington. She would like to extend a thank you to DPW staff for their work over the last month with the large number of weather events. The types of storms we had did not make it easy, but they worked around the clock to maintain safe and passable roads. We currently have 2 new positions posted on our website for anyone interested. We are looking for a full-time driver, laborer for the Department of Public Works, and we are willing to train on the job if we find the right candidate. Also, we are looking for a department assistant for the assessor's office. It is a 25-hour-a-week benefits eligible position and does offer some flexibility with the schedule. Our longtime department assistant just retired after 10 years. And information on both positions is available on our website under the current employment opportunities page, and that's all we have for tonight.
Okay, well, thank you. Next on our agenda is, we do have a certificate and a recognition that is coming up this Friday for the Boston Post cane recipient and Torda. And I'll take a motion on that.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve and sign a certificate for Ann Torda, who at the age of 101 is Stow's oldest resident. She will be honored with the ceremonial Boston Post cane in a ceremony on Friday, February 28th.
Second.
Discussion? That's quite all right. Okay? Okay. Okay, I know that I will be there, since I'm gonna be master of ceremonies, I guess I better show up. And I believe Megan, I think she said she was going to be coming as well. Is anybody else from the board able to make it?
I will not be.
I can't.
Okay,
Probably can't either.
okay, nope, I just wanted to put it out there.
Thank you.
And with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. Okay, appointments. We have Maria McFarland to the Agricultural Commission. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Maria McFarland to the Agricultural Commission for the remainder of a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any comments first from the board?
None for me.
Okay, is Maria present either virtually or? I don't see her.
I don't see her.
Okay, well, then we'll take a vote.
I think it's great that we have some movement here. I think the Agricultural Commission has been quiet for a number of years.
Agreed.
Hooray.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, let the record show it's unanimous. Next, we have Brooke Konecny, I hope I pronounced that correctly, to the Recreation Commission, and I'll take a motion on that.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Brooke Konecny to the Recreation Commission through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Okay. Is Brooke here? with us?
Yes, yes.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi,
Say your name.
Brooke Konecny. It's a tough
Brooke's
one.
next.
Yeah.
Great, so we got it right. Whew.
You did.
And is there anything you'd like to say on your behalf?
I mean, I don't think so. So, I don't know.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments for Brooke?
Thanks for taking the initiative.
Yeah, I'm
Couldn't find
excited.
anything, so you decided to be the part of the solution.
I hope so, yeah.
That's great. All right, well, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Let the record show it's unanimous.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Next, Mary Eckel, I do know that she is away, so I know she won't be present.
Marcy.
I'm sorry, Marcy Eckel. I know that she is away, so won't be able to be present. We'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Marcy Eckel to the position of trustee for the Hale High School Trust Fund, period. This appointment carries a lifetime tenure.
Second.
Okay, comments?
I think it's great that Marcy apparently would like to continue after not staying on the library
As a
board.
trustee, yeah.
And moving to other things that are related and staying involved. I'm appreciative.
Yes, very much so. I'm glad that she's stepping up to still stay involved with the town in other ways.
And I guess the fund actually benefits the library.
Yes,
So,
directly.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, take a vote. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye,
Aye. Okay, let the record show it's unanimous. We'll take the,
another one.
yeah,
I move to approve Marcy Eckel to the Cultural Council for the remainder of a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026.
Second.
okay. Any comments or anything? Oh, seeing and hearing none. All those in
Marcy.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. All right. Next, we have our special event permit for the Stow Town cleanup. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to permit Jennifer Henderson and other volunteers to use the lower common on Saturday, April 26th, 2025, between 8 a.m. and noon, to distribute trash collection bags and protective gear for the annual Stow Town cleanup. There will be no removal of invasive plants, and all participants will need to sign releases that will be returned to the town by Monday, April 28th. I also move to waive the requirement of an insurance certificate.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Comments?
I thank Jennifer for doing this. It's a great event, and I'm happy that we can waive the insurance requirement so that people go out and clean up the streets. It's
Right. And just so everybody, the board, just to remind you, historically, we have waived the insurance requirements in the
Yeah.
past for the event to take place, so it's not like we're setting precedent.
Right.
Okay.
Carrying on a tradition.
Exactly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Let the record show it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next is police policies and procedures. Come on up.
So exciting.
Evening, good evening.
Good evening. You can pull your chairs up, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello,
Hi there.
welcome back. Thank you.
Yeah,
So it's been a couple weeks since we've been here,
I know.
and that gave us the opportunity to give you a whole bunch of things to read through.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to my life.
I
Share the
think
love.
I think we're continuing on and I believe we only have like 20 to 30 left.
About 30.
About 30 of
30
them left. So we should only have probably 1 or 2 more appearances in front of you. But, so as the letter states, chapter 1 has been redone, most of it, but what we presented in chapter 2, we didn't have to make any changes to that, and that was just be readopted, what you guys have already approved back years ago. The only change I would say is the the font and the, the header, and that was the only difference. So, are there any questions on any of the policies?
I went through 'em. I didn't have them. Pretty straightforward.
No, just
No.
as always, thank you for doing this, thank you for all the time spent.
We're getting there. The next step is after all these policies are already done, or as the lieutenant is doing them, then there are 2,400 standards that we have to meet. So now we have to go back and take each of those standards and then correlate it to the piece of the policy, so that when we get certified and accredited, that they can come in and say, okay, where is this standard and where's it found in your policies? And then we can bring it up on the software system. So we have to meet each one of those standards as well.
So you have to do a full cross-referencing.
That's what she'll be doing, yes, as well too.
So I have a
My
question.
sincere condolences.
Thank you, trust me, I ask myself that every day.
As if
It's
we're
great.
doing all the policies, wasn't enough.
They're good though, at least they're up to date and they're,
That's
you know,
true.
today's best standards, so that's good,
Kelly,
yeah.
as I've said before, it's a monumental undertaking and absolutely thrilled that you were willing to take that on. And through the certification process, that I knew it wasn't gonna be easy.
Keep marching forward, that's all I can do.
There we go.
I was impressed when I was reading them, just,
Yeah.
I was like, I kept thinking about you sitting somewhere and just. And I thought the language, was clear, it was good, so.
Right, understandable, that's how we want it, so anyone on the street can read it and understand what it says.
There were some things I didn't get just cause I'm not in the police department. You know, what's an order, is that like a court order, but yes, that what it is, okay.
We try to reduce them too, like if we can consolidate and remove some of them while still obtaining the same goal, we're trying to do that, because there's a lot to remember. And so
Oh my God.
like let's make it easier for the officers, let's put if we can reduce things, we're trying to do that too.
Right,
So now, do you have to, for my contractor's license, I have continuing education.
Officers
you
have, we have
do-
continuing education every single year, yes, and
But-
training, and there's training standards that will be outlined, I think, actually in the next group of policies, you'll see exactly what we have to do.
But my question is, do you have to do this ever again?
Oh, yeah,
You're
I'm in it for, it will be something for as long as I work at the Stow Police Department, this will never go away.
And we get recertified, like once we hit that level, then every 3 years, the state will come back in and look at us again. And so we have to show what we're doing for the next 3 years, every year we have a certain amount of reviews that we have to do. And then at the end of the 3 years, we go through this again. Not bringing it to you, but yet the state comes in and looks at us.
Hopefully though,
Thank you.
it will be less time.
Once we start
it's
getting
in
into
place.
it.
Once we have, certification and then accreditation, it's just on autopilot, and it's just really, keeping track of everything. So, it's a huge undertaking, but we wanted to do it and wanted to get it done, and we're gonna get it done, so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the updates to police policies and procedures 1.28 through 1.39 as provided by the police chief.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
fine.
Aye.
Aye, I'll take the second motion as well, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to readopt police policies and procedures 2.01 through 2.03, 2.07 through 2.09, 2.13 through 2.15, and 2.19 as provided by the police chief.
Second.
Any further comment?
I just have a quick question on procedure. I think you said 2.03,
Yes.
it goes to 2.05.
So it's 2.01 through 2.05.
205, yes.
Just a miss.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend my motion. I move to readopt police policies and procedures 2.01 through 2.05. And the rest will remain the same.
Second.
Okay.
No?
Typically, just withdraw your motion and read it as a new, because otherwise now we have to vote, amend it, and then
Ah.
vote it again.
Mr. Chair, I withdraw the previous two motions.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to move to readopt police policies and procedures 2.01 through 2.05, 2.07 through 2.09, 2.13 through 2.15, and 2.19 as provided by the police chief.
Second.
Thank you. For the audience, because it involves public safety and the procedures and policies, we have to make sure that it is documented correctly, so that's why it needed to be done, because it is classified as a significant change because of the policies. So just for the edification of our public. Okay, any further comments? Seeing and hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, let the record show that passes unanimously.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our planning board initiatives and updates. And I see Valerie's here, I see Lori's here, I see Karen's back there, so thank you all. Karen, you wanna come up? Sure. To the front, you're
Yeah, that'd
welcome.
be sure.
A couple of others are on Zoom.
And a couple of folks who are with
This
us
one, yeah.
on Zoom. Great. Well, thank you all for showing up. I am assuming Valerie, you will be doing the presenting?
Sure. Yes,
Or is Lori?
I can give a brief introduction. So earlier this month, the planning board provided a memo on their updated work plan initiatives. So this is the update since the last time we had sent one over, which was about 6 months ago. So there are some things that have come off, a few things that have been added, but the high priority items are about the same as the last time you saw them. So we're here tonight really at your invitation to hear if there are any questions that you might have or any requests for further information. We're happy to come back with a presentation if there's a specific topic.
And I can give some context to, we've started this work plan several years ago as a means for, as any member or people have new ideas. Essentially, once a quarter, we will go through a prioritization exercise and figure out if the new ideas are coming forward, where would we slot them in? And it's to keep us on track of what's most important and sort of help staff as well understand the priorities. And so when we revisit them each quarter, we're going through almost a status of the ones that are in progress, a revisitation of any new ideas, where would they slot in, and we also look at is there anything where we feel the priorities have changed. And so, you're not gonna find a lot of surprises. I mean, the highest priorities, comprehensive plan, lower village design and water, because now that we have the bylaw, we want to continue to influence with the tools we have. The Hudson Road intersection, town center landscape, that's sort of a strategic project there, and of course MBTA adoption. And then the one new thing I think you'll see in there is a review of the industrial zone, which would also include a look at the rock bottom property. So you can imagine why that has come up in priority. And it's a very long list, but this is more of a way to help us manage ourselves. And I think Valerie included a line in there where we can all admit that some of the things on that list are never gonna happen because more higher priorities come in, but it helps the board, I think, discuss and agree with each other, what our priorities are and why.
After going through the material that you had given to us, I personally wanted to say thanks. I know a lot of effort went into putting that together, and I'm sure there was significant discussion amongst all of you, especially when you're dealing with the priorities and where to rank things, because you look at that list and I mean, how do you, some of them it's all, they're really like together, but or at the same level, I guess. So to be able to come up with that list and to keep things on track the way that you guys are doing, I think is commendable, and appreciate the efforts.
The intent in sharing is to give you visibility, to allow you to, sorry about that, ask any questions if you see things that aren't familiar, because we want you to be familiar with what our activities are. And to see if there's any, conflict or synergy in what you're thinking, what you were trying to drive for the town versus us. So it's really a checkpoint.
I think it's great. I'm appreciative.
I don't,
Make that effort.
from the last time that we got this, I didn't see any big surprises or anything, and I think it was pretty clear as far as the review that you folks had done, and I think it's, from what I can tell, at least speaking for myself, it's in line with what I would view as the priorities for the town, and whatever we can do to help facilitate that process, please, come to us, let's work through this together so that we can keep it moving for the betterment of our residents here. I am interested to know, in the board comments, Courtney had mentioned she was there last night. How did that go, the forum, and was there anything that cropped up that kind of made you take notice?
Yeah, I think we had a successful forum last night, so we had, I'd say, over 30 people in person here. We provided a presentation that just reviews kind of the timeline for the process, what it is, and some of our work around trying to find a location for a district or multiple districts. And then really the bulk of the time was spent on getting feedback from folks on the locations that we have thought of, and also some zoning components, like housing types or building height, that kind of thing. That will help us start to craft a draft bylaw, because we're really looking at creating that over the next few months, so that we can be in line for what we're anticipating with a special town meeting in September. So we were talking about the surprise question earlier today, and we didn't have any surprising comments. I couldn't think of anything. I think it seemed like people were very engaged and thoughtful, asked some really good questions. We have some things that we should follow up on, and think about how to present things in different ways in the future.
It was a friendly crowd,
Yeah.
I would say.
It was,
And I think people understand that this is Mass state law that we are trying to comply with, but we're trying to influence or at least get some benefit in that compliance as well, or for the town. And that seemed understood.
Can I add a comment from last night?
Sure, Nancy?
Sure, Nancy.
This was unusual, and I don't know if every board member saw this, but there was a resident coming to hear about it all for the first time who saw that she was located adjacent to one of the suggested areas, and she requested to make sure her home and property were included in it, because she saw it as a real benefit as a property owner to have those additional options. So, that was just a small group of people there, but maybe there's gonna be many who see it that way.
Yes, absolutely. And we all know you, Nancy. Can you just state your name and your address for us? For the record.
Nancy Arsenal, Planning Board, 267 Red Acre Road,
Thank you.
just north of the South Red Acre Road District.
There we are.
I also would note that we did just publish a survey that is now live and available for residents to take through about mid-March. So for those that were not able to attend, we're asking the exact same questions that were asked at the forum, just to get more input. So be on the lookout for that too.
And how would people find that?
The information is on the website right now, and we will be publicizing it more on Facebook and through the town administrator's newsletter, if possible.
Excellent.
And also the presentation that Valerie and Michael did last night is on the web, I don't know if it's on the website, but it's on Stow TV, YouTube.
And Karen, can I ask the same?
Karen Kelleher, planning board member, 209 Baton Road.
Thanks.
Sorry.
And Lori,
Lori Clark, current chair, planning board, 39 Bradley Lane, had to remember where I am.
yeah. Don't feel bad, I froze up last night with my address, I'm like, oh, where do I live? Great, and if there is anything that you gleaned from last night or from the surveys, please do, don't hesitate to get it back to us either in correspondence or if we need to set up a time, again, to sit with us, that'd be great. I'll be honest, I think there is some real opportunity and benefits and advantages that can be gleaned from the state law, so however we can put that forward and help to facilitate that, I think my colleagues would be in agreement with that as well.
I do have a question, JT, just regarding our work plan in general. Is there anything on the docket as a priority for the select board that could impact activities that you would expect from the planning board or you would want us to know?
Please.
One of the things I was impressed with in the presentation of the list of all the stuff was the ability of the planning board to respond to all the pressures the town is having, both natural and ecological, as well as land use and distribution of uses across our landscape. So I just wanted to say that was very valuable in there. And I've also been of the opinion, I guess to answer your question, that the planning board is overall fairly responsive to new issues that may come up, or new opportunities that may come up, or things that are thrown on your plate. And I would say that for the most part, speaking for myself, but I'm sure as you just said, my colleagues would agree, is that we probably have very similar priorities and similar goals for our community in terms of making sure it's sustainable and healthy and we're protecting all the assets we have. I know also, I'm speaking a little off in terms of the Conservation Commission, but also the town owns a lot of public open space. And it's not necessarily something in your purview, but one thing that I'm concerned about is that the town needs to start, no money, no grants, right? We're already tight on budget, but I think the town needs to understand that at some point we need to spend money on managing our open space better. And it's not necessarily something that is a planning board thing, but in terms of what the Board of Selectmen or other boards may feel, is recognizing that with everything that's changing, we have to be some more proactive in certain things.
Well, the good news is I see that in the coming through in the comprehensive plan, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, and I commend you for your efforts, because I do feel it is a priority, at least for myself, and I think for my colleagues, that when there are developments, that you seriously take a look at open space and how it can be developed within a project as well, to try to protect as much as possible. I really feel that that is important to keep right up at the forefront, because I've seen far too often in other communities when that suddenly gets lost, it really changes the character and feel. I've seen whole neighborhoods change out because of it. So for me, that's something that is important. I assume it is for everybody else here, I don't know. But so that's something that I do keep an eye on. And you guys are really great with that, and I have to say, and I do appreciate that a lot.
One other thing, just while you were speaking, did you guys read the recent article, I think it was in the New York Times, about how single-family homes are trashing? So anyway, so that just made me remember that, the staff is always, you're on top of these things. So I think that's another thing. So in terms of being proactive and things change all the time. Regs, rules, perceptions, approaches, so anyway, yeah, I read that one, I went, oh yeah. So, what do you do? But anyway,
And I'd like to add that I don't envy you, the job that you have to do.
so much.
What you do and all the studying and the effort and the meetings and the understanding and the long hours is amazing. I ran for this board because I knew this would be easier than the planning board. So, I really do appreciate your dedication for doing this and for all the hard work that you've done, and it's
And for
nice to see.
Nancy and John up there, they do it too, they just
Yes,
have
they
a
do,
room.
yes. And all these priorities, I'm intrigued by some, but also, as was said before, if there's anything you need from us that we can help you with, even if it's to attend a planning board meeting so we can glean some more information, let us know.
I think with all of the media coverage of the MBTA communities, we are gonna need advocacy to push
Yeah,
get
it
a
hasn't
plan
been the most
adopted.
positive.
So, I mean, we're trying to engage the public now and gain input, but sometimes it's hard to get people's attention until you're up against town meeting. So I certainly want us to go forward together as a town and know that as we inch towards that special town meeting, that it would be great to have us all aligned on the same page.
Definitely.
And actually, it's just a matter of getting the bylaw in place, is it not?
That's right, yes, yeah.
So,
Just,
no, but I'm
Meaning the
saying,
town doesn't have to take any other action.
yeah, we don't have to take any other action
no, that's
with
right.
it, and
No,
we
there's no building
meet, yeah,
required.
exactly, we meet the qualification.
But some people
Of
are
what
gonna
the-
see it as a complete change to Stow's character,
Right.
and there's not gonna be a positive response to.
But, last night, I felt like the presentation called out something, just again to point to this, that, so there was the property owner who said, please add me to this district. And I thought your presentation made an excellent point that for properties within any district that we choose to implement, they have more options, and so the value of their property changes for the better. And I would say that also would change the property values adjacent. So, I mean, it's an opportunity when we choose to see it that way. And I feel as though zoning and planning is a long view into the future, which many of us don't take. We live our lives in a day-to-day manner, and thinking about what the town is gonna be like in 10, 15, 25, 30 years is incredible. I mean, the detail that, and the time that you spend, which is the commitment that you make and that we chose not to make, we chose something different. I'm just a huge fan, and I'm in awe of how you fit things together, because that's how they have to be. And it's really to all of our benefit that you think this through and then present us with these opportunities.
I mean, there's no doubt that the required density is extremely different than what we have. And so any change is difficult. That's just human nature. And, people bought in their areas for certain reasons, and with an expectation. So we can all anticipate some tough conversations. It's not, I think last night was friendly. I don't think it's going to be that easy. But I think the whole point of last night was to start that engagement of getting feedback on the locations to help shape them. We haven't finalized them. We put forward some proposals, they can be shaped, etc. So the hope is we'll get enough public engagement that when it sort of goes to move forward, that we've engaged enough people that there's some support there.
True. I'm hoping that our residents in town, will ultimately respond as we had to deal with the 40B situation. I well remember, shall we just say, the heated discussions that had taken place. And that, to me, is a much greater impact in actuality than what this law is putting forward. And, you know, I think that's something we need to remind folks of, that, you know, I mean, to hear the comments, and I well remember them, oh my God, the 40B is gonna be the death of Stow, was a comment that was made. And people really thought that, and in fact, that has not been the case. And that in a neighborhood has far more impact than what this law is requiring. So I think if we can help folks in the education process to kind of take a step back and remember that and look at that and say, you know, we've done okay, even with the 40B situation. And we've gleaned some benefit from the 40B projects for the town. I think that folks have been very happy with. And I think with your hard work and the efforts that you're putting forth, we'll be able to achieve that again. And so whatever we can do to help facilitate that as well, let us know. We can work with you on the talking points of clarity, things like that. I have no issue with being able to put that forward. Any other comments or anything? No? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming.
All right, next on the agenda is the Lake Boon PFAS update. And we have Kirk here, who has been spearheading and doing an awful lot of the work. I actually asked to have this put on the agenda because there were a number of requests with the last folks coming through saying, well, what else is happening in the town, the rest of the town with PFAS? So the lake area is another large neighborhood. Kirk?
Should I move forward here?
Sure.
Thank you for having me here this evening.
And if you could just state your name.
I will introduce myself, yes. I'm Kirk Westphal. I live with my wife Anastasia at 52 Pine Point Road. And I am here representing the Lake Boon Association Science Advisory Committee. It's a volunteer group of scientists and engineers and other technical specialists who live around the lake. I want to thank Dave Seversky, who's the president of the Lake Boon Association, for his support of all the work we've been doing. Dave Gray, who I think is on the line, who's been doing this work with me over the last 5 years. We've been studying the water quality in Lake Boon. It started out as a study of algae and nutrients in the lake, and it has evolved to the study of PFAS. I have some notes here. I'll be brief. I do want to say that I am a professional water resources engineer. I work for a national consulting firm. That's not who I represent tonight. I'm here as a volunteer, but I do have the expertise from having done water quality and water supply studies across the country. I provided a summary of where we are for you in the package. I'm going to assume that we know what PFAS is and don't have to get into too much detail on that. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on the information in the package. But I wanted to summarize what it means, who we've shared it with, and where we'd like to go moving forward. We are seeing PFAS now in wells around the lake. It used to be just in Basin 4. It was tested as part of the Firefighting Academy. We're seeing them in Basin 2 and Basin 1. It's in my well, our well, above the state and federal levels right now. We tend to see it more prevalently in shallow wells, which makes sense. There's PFAS in the lake itself that is above state and federal levels, depending on where you look and when. And the lake water and the shallow groundwater in our wells is one contiguous water body. So it makes sense that if we see it in the lake, we see it in the shallow wells. Some people with the deeper wells have tested their wells and are not seeing it at the levels that we are, but it's still detectable, even in wells that are several hundred feet deep. So it's everywhere, it's everywhere in our community.
Actually, Kirk,
Yes.
is it also my understanding that the deep wells that have tested, if the new criteria comes in, then in fact, they're no longer,
I'd have to check on that. I think some of the deep wells that have tested are even below the new federal levels, but I don't know all of the details on that. I know that 4 shallow wells have been tested recently. All of them have levels that I'm aware of above either the state or federal level. And just to be clear, the EPA has issued new guidelines for PFAS last April, which are much more stringent than Mass DEP's standards. Those are technically in effect, but they're not enforced yet by DEP. They have to be adopted by DEP to be enforced. And so part of what I'll say tonight has to do with the timeline of that. Okay. The work that we've done has, to our belief, traced the compounds in our wells in all parts of the lake, all 4 basins of the lake, and in the wells that have been tested to the Fire Academy. It matches the fingerprint of the compounds there. PFAS is not just one compound, it's dozens and dozens of compounds. And the balance of those compounds relative to each other is how you can trace it. And what we're seeing in our wells traces back to the Fire Academy. There's very little doubt about that in our minds. The DEP is overseeing a cleanup effort. They've completed 2 phases of that effort and have delineated part of the lake itself as a disposal zone. And that's just part of Basin 4, sort of the southeast corner of Basin 4, has levels that have historically exceeded the Mass DEP standard, which is higher than the EPA standard. And that's the one that Mass DEP still currently enforces. What that means is that residents in that area are eligible to be compensated by the Fire Academy for treatment systems and for, as I understand, disposal of filters, replacement of filters, which is very expensive. It's not a small deal. But you have to be in that zone. We looked at the delineation of this disposal site. If the new EPA standards were to be used as the guiding principle, which eventually they would be. They're not in effect yet. The EP has told us it'll take a year or 2 to get those in place. But if they were used as the standard to delineate, all 4 basins of the lake would have residences that would qualify for funding. That's not the case yet, okay? That needs to be delineated. That's where we are. The lake, our wells are above the limit of the EPA standards. Some of them, mine not included, are above the DEP threshold, which means if we sold our house today, we would have to put in a treatment system. Okay. We have shared this.
Quick question.
Yes, please.
You said that right now DEP acknowledges part of Lake Boon is as a result of the Fire Academy. If the new standards are adopted, will that mean that all of Lake Boon is as a result of the Fire Academy?
We believe that all 4 basins, portions of all 4 basins would be delineated. That if they were to use the EPA standard, which is 4 parts per trillion for 2 of the compounds instead of 20 for a collective of 6, that all 4 basins have shown, both in the lake and in the wells, levels that high and can be traced back to the Fire Academy. So we believe that it would be delineated in all 4 basins, yes. Not every house. There are portions of the lake where the flow patterns don't bring the water there. There are wells that are deep and may not be affected ever or for 10 or 15 years. But there are wells that are testing today that would qualify to be delineated.
isn't it also my understanding though that as the testing happens with the wells, as it was explained to us with the previous presenter, that the border, when new detection has been found to be higher and above with the state DEP now, that needs to be expanded.
Yes.
So if we have wells in Basin 1 that now are showing, and the fingerprint is back to the Fire Academy, then it's the responsibility of DEP
Yes.
to expand that border and to take care of it.
Dave Gray and I have had several conversations with DEP and have exchanged this information, the same package that you have with DEP. And they initially were, they're not really on the hook. They're overseeing the Fire Academy. They are reviewing the reports that come out. And they weren't terribly interested at first in what we had to say because they're not enforcing the new standard. And then I told them that 2 houses on Pine Point Road are above their standard, DEP standard, and they sat up and took notice of that. And they are providing comments back on the delineation sometime this year, I don't know when, and have told me in good faith that they'll copy me on their comments, and I'll forward those to you as soon as I see them. But my hope is that they will require sampling throughout the lake now, and not just in Basin 4. Up until now, it's just been in Basin 4. And I think with this new information, they will start needing to sample around the lake. It makes sense. Water flows downhill, and Basin 4 is uphill, Basin 1 is downhill. It's far away from the academy, but water flows downhill. And so I think they noticed that, and I think they will stand up and require some sampling. Now, for residents who do sample, it's not, you don't need to report it. It's for your own health and welfare. If you're selling your house, you need to report it if it's above the standard. But what we'd like to see is DEP including in their test program homes around the lake, wells around the lake, all of the bays and inlets in the lake. That hasn't been done so far. And if they did that, they will find that there are wells and locations in the lake that are above their own standards. And I think that would force a redelineation.
So if it forces I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I just have a quick clarification question. You called that the Basin 4 a disposal zone.
That's their
So-
terminology, yeah.
I'm sorry?
That's their terminology.
Yeah, can you just explain what
Yeah.
a disposal zone is so that, because you're public,
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah,
It's a technical term
it's
that
sort of
I
like a
don't deal with.
receiving zone or something.
Yeah, I don't deal with it a lot, but it is, to my knowledge, it is the zone that is considered contaminated because of the disposal at the site.
And
So
that's a dynamic zone.
it is.
It has to be dynamic, and even your presentation or the materials you provided showed 2 years or a year different how it flips
It will
around.
move.
Right.
And that could be because of it's dispersing. It could be because we had a dry year instead of a wet year, and it moves things differently. We could see higher levels next year. So it's something we need to track, and we will continue to track as a science committee. But it's something that DEP really needs to track too.
So it's a funny term, disposal zone, but that's really what it means.
It's a funny environmental regulatory term.
Yeah,
it's not-
it's.
It's not a
Nobody's
dumping zone.
Nobody's been
Well,
dumping
that's-
anything in the lake.
Exactly, and so that's
connotation.
why when you said that, I thought you should explain it to.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it is the delineation of the impact of disposal.
The impact zone.
Impact zone is a better term.
Anyway, okay.
So we have shared this with DEP, and I do believe that they sat up and took notice. We've shared this with our Board of Health, and I'll have a request for you shortly on that. We've shared this with Representative Kate Hogan. We've met with her and have reached out to her really to ask for some help identifying some avenues for assistance as we move forward. We've shared this with our town administrator, Denise. We've shared this with the Lake Boon Commission. They're aware of it and can help us probably spread the word, but this is outside of their legal purview and charter. We've certainly shared this with the Lake Boon Association and members, and have been trying to get the word out by email, and now we're sharing it with you tonight. And so I have 3 requests, and then happy to answer any questions. One is that the most important thing here is our health. And there are a lot of people who drink water from shallow wells around the lake who don't know its risks. And when we met with the Board of Health back in September, they agreed to work with us on language for an advisory. That hasn't happened yet, and we'd like to see some encouragement for that to get
You've
out
been
there.
wanting to do that for a long time now.
I think, we have an email list for the Lake Association. Maybe 5% of those get read, another 1% get acted on. It would really be good if an advisory could come from an official organization in the town. Really just to encourage people to test their wells and to reinforce the fact that if you test higher than the standard, you don't need to report that to anybody. You're under no financial obligation. It's for your own family's safety, okay? You have the option then to get bottled water, to treat your water, to do whatever you need to, but you can know that you should probably stop drinking it. So it's a health advisory that needs to get out there. We can make people aware of the fact that there is a bylaw that if they sell a home or expand it considerably, they are now obligated financially to treat. That's the first request, is that we try to work together to get that advisory out there. The second is to take a look at the city of Westfield's website. Westfield and our area, Stow, Bolton, Acton, those two areas are the two hotspots for PFAS in our state. There are others,
What,
but
our little three towns in Westfield?
our three, 4, 5 little towns and Westfield. And that's because of the areal extent and the concentrations that we have. It's surprising, but we do have a fire academy here, and so it's a little less
But
surprising.
there's other sources, different footprints all
There
over the
are,
town,
yep.
right, so.
But our concentrations and the areal extent, when you start to combine towns, when you look at a map of our state, we are a hotspot. Westfield is a hotspot. There are others, but those are the two that the state really has spent a lot of time looking at. And in some of the phone calls I've been on, they say, yes, Stow and Westfield are two hotspots. So Westfield is out west. They have the Barnes Air National Guard base where they do a lot of fire training, and that's upstream of their public water supply wells. They're a public supplier, different system, but they were contaminated very, very badly. The reason I bring them up is they've done an extraordinary job in posting advisories, health advisories to their constituents, working with the state, getting videos online to educate people about what this is and how to cope with it, coordinating with the state, the CDC even, on what to do. They won a national award in 2019 for their reaction in response to PFAS.
From,
It was from a Water and Wastes Digest. It's a national publication on water and wastewater quality. And they've kind of become a model for our state, not just in treating it, I mean, they had to, but in notifying the public and keeping them engaged. They had public meetings on this, which they didn't have to. That was proactive, and they did it. And so I'd just encourage everybody to take a look at their website. I can send it to you if you'd like. A lot of very easy advisories to one click, and I can see, what the levels are in my neighborhood and how it might affect me. Very, very useful information. So that's the second request. The third request and the last request, and then I'll shut up, is I'd like to see is if it's possible for us to work together with Representative Hogan to investigate some avenues for funding assistance. And there are several that I can think of. DEP currently offers bottled water to those residents in Basin 4 who tested positive for any PFAS back in 2019 when their study first started. And they provide bottled water to some households there. I believe those households are now in the disposal site. That offer, I believe, continues. Secondly, there is a settlement that was reached with PFAS manufacturing companies. There's a lot of money, big pool of money sitting with the state. I think it's still in committee, last I heard. I don't know how that has moved. But there is a proviso in the agreement that does allow for some of that money to flow to communities with private wells. That was not in the original agreement. I think that was a proviso that was added as part of the settlement. So that can be an avenue as well. And then the third, of course, is the delineation. If DEP delineates the lake again, using data from our house and from our neighbors' homes, there may be other homes in and around the lake that would qualify for full funding from the Fire Academy, as I understand it.
That's
for-
correct.
For treatment systems and lifetime
pellets.
filter replacement. And so there are three avenues there. I'd like to volunteer my time to work with you, however it takes, to see if we can figure out which of those avenues might work best. And there may be others. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, thank you for your time and your work and your effort on this. It is important. I mean, yes, PFAS is everywhere. However, that does not alleviate the responsibility of the source of where it comes from, which has been proven time and time again under legal precedent, not just in the Commonwealth, but actually throughout the country. And I do think it makes some sense that we try to get together with Rep. Hogan and see if we can't get the parties to sit down at the table. The delineation, from my understanding, they don't have a choice. Once it shows up, they're required by law, actually, to move the borders.
I believe that's true.
And that was explained with our last presenter as well, who confirmed that. So, I'd rather do it in a, let's just sit down and talk this over in a friendlier atmosphere. And I think having Rep. Hogan spearhead that, and I think it makes some sense.
Yeah.
For that to happen.
Well, it might be also worthwhile to hear from the Stow Board of Health. What plans do they have, what are they thinking about as far as the PFAS that's in the town? Cause
Right.
the presentation we had last time was pretty much what the town is responsible for.
Correct.
But what about the messaging that's going to things that the town's not responsible for? I know Gleasondale's having similar issues, and
They are, that is true.
I also remember the presentation said that DEP will not pay for bottled water. They will only pay for filtration systems.
So there is an
That's
area,
changed, yeah.
there's an
Yeah.
area near our old fire station that has been considered now to be split off from fire station responsibility and is,
It's a
It's
different
town
footprint.
responsibility now.
it's,
Okay.
yeah, and
And I lived there for 11 years, drinking the water.
so I know there are a
So-
lot of people concerned
Yeah.
about, what's gonna happen, whether they're on the hook to pay for things and
Well, and as you
or
pointed
whether they
out-
can be reimbursed or.
Stow is one of 4 bad towns. What does the Board of Health think?
Other than the regulatory bylaw that they put through, I don't know what else they have on the making. They probably should be one of the players that sit at the table.
Well, and maybe, taking a look at what Westfield's doing, and is there anything that
Yeah.
can be duplicated here?
I think that
Sounds
definitely
like
makes some sense.
we need to support the Board of Health in getting a strong message out there and maybe support ourselves by getting
Exactly.
the website to some clear.
That would be a
Messaging.
great step.
And I know Kate Hogan's continues to sponsor bills in the State House about PFAS treatment, but I believe a number of them might be in
Committee.
committee limbo.
Yeah, it could stay there for a while, I think.
Yeah. And I'm not sure there's much she can do to get them to move faster, but we could certainly ask her,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything we can do?
Right, and I think that makes total sense. But that's for another time.
Exactly.
Kirk, thank you very much.
I have another question, if that's all right,
Sure,
Mr. Chair.
absolutely, Madam Clerk.
One of the
We're getting
things-
late, she's getting punchy.
Yeah, I start to melt around this time. One other thing that I recently read, and I'm curious what your opinion is that we put PFAS from our own household use into the ground, and we're contaminating our own wells with our own actions by using all these PFAS materials, which are pervasive, right? So I was just curious, one, whether you had a response to that, and second, whether Westfield's by state, and I will look at their website, whether they address that, so people know you shouldn't buy this, you shouldn't buy this, you shouldn't buy this. Have you heard anything about that?
I'll give two very weak answers
Okay.
to that. Every household that has a septic system is something of a closed loop.
It sure
Right,
is.
you draw water from the ground and dispose it right back in and draw it back up.
It's not that bad, but yes, it's true. It's true,
And
yes.
so every parcel will be different in its dynamics.
Correct.
But yes, we do dispose of PFAS. And when we pull it up from our wells and dispose of it, we're putting it back in.
That's right.
But whether that increases the concentration or dilutes it.
Over years, possibly.
It would need to be studied at each parcel, really, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's a weak answer, but I certainly agree that
It just
that's
means that
the dynamic.
it would be something hard to prove, and is it worth studying, but the point that might be of value is that people should stop using PFAS generated or materials that are PFAS, right?
And that can
Because
be-
they're subtly contaminating their own properties.
Yeah.
And then if we can, and there are gonna be certain products that cannot get rid of PFAS, but it just needs to be better managed. But I know I'm taking time from the meeting, so that's all.
fine.
You answered the question.
That can be part of the public education
No,
campaign.
Yes.
And I know very little about what Westfield did in that regard. So, again, they were a public supplier and they have a sewer system and so it's a different dynamic that they have out there. But their education system that impressed me was, or the aspects of it that impressed me, were their ability to get the advisories out there every time they were updated.
I know, and I'm sorry that's been such a frustrating effort for you, because I think we talked about it a year ago.
We did, yeah.
And, I know I said, go talk to the Board of Health, that's the first agency you should talk to. So I certainly think the 3 items you identified are something that I personally would support this board doing, so.
That's what and no, it's not extending to me, your point is well taken. But just for a clarification, with the study that you did, the fingerprint, if you will, that you found is not something that would come from the household.
No, I'm just saying from a town-wide perspective, since we're talking about Stow Act and who was the third one?
Bolton has, I mean,
Okay.
it's 5 or 6 or 7 communities. I mean,
There's a
it's-
lot, and as we heard from the previous, there's a lot of different signatures
Yes.
in Stow, for example. And it's not always them that's contaminating our land, it's also us. And I think that's a point that should be made, all right? So, the point north of the Stow Fire Department, I don't know what the source of that fingerprint is. Could it be some weird agricultural thing? I mean, we don't know, right? So, anyway, enough for now, but we should certainly follow up on the 3
It's a great point, though. I mean, part of our public education campaign for the algae in the lake was
Yes,
to stop using.
It's not them,
you know,
always.
Stop using fertilizers that are laden with phosphorus on your lawn.
that's right,
Don't use the wrong shampoo. That kind of thing makes a difference over time.
exactly.
Well, at least if people have the information and they can understand it, then they can make choices.
Exactly.
Good point.
Thank you very much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Sure, so.
Okay, moving on to our next item. We need to
Get more money for snow and ice.
authorize deficit spending for snow and ice account. I'll take a motion on that.
I'll give you one. Mr. Chair, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31D, I move to allow deficit spending of the fiscal year 2025 snow and ice account.
Second.
This is pretty standard, and I'm saying this just to educate the public. This is something when we have a tougher winter, and this is the first one we've had now, I think, in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, in fact, I think Denise increased the budget a little bit to try to
Anticipate
mitigate
it,
this deficit spending thing that comes up, but
But the last storms, this particular month were tough ones with rain and ice and everything
yeah,
else, so.
ice requires a lot of inputs on
Right,
the
and
roads.
it requires a lot of chemical treatment on the roads and extra time has to be put in to re-scrape the roads, et cetera, et cetera.
Can I make just a brief plug, echoing the earlier plug for the highway department? Noticing in the last bout of storms and weather, going town to town, that here in Stow, it was easier to move around than some other places. So it was just a little bit like, oh boy, watch it, I'm gonna slide on some ice for a while, but not here in Stow.
Going up Road and then going into Eckel, like, what a difference.
And going into Maynard.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an old dirt road. All right, you want, sorry.
Very true. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous, okay. Review and sign draft letter of support for the Central Mass Rail Trail project.
I never heard of this project.
Well, it's been going on and on for a while. We have a whopping 300 feet.
Yeah.
It's
Go look on the
between,
map to see.
yeah, it's between Chestnut Street to Wilkins. So, we're not talking miles like some of the towns are working with.
Well, could I, Mr. Chair, say a few words to just broaden what we've read about, but others listening might, or in the future might not know about this project or what we're talking about?
Sure. Before you do, can we get the motion
Absolutely.
on record?
So I move to approve, getting punchy too, and sign a letter of support from the Central Mass Rail Trail, for the Central Mass Rail Trail project.
Second.
Now, Ms. Fraser, please enlighten us.
In my own way. So, just briefly, this is, our 300 feet are on something which was an easement made by Eversource for a utility line with the understanding that they would put a bike trail on top of it. And so that's what we're talking about. The work has been done with the power lines and
Because the power lines were they decided to put underground.
correct, for beauty and maintenance reasons. And so now we have this opportunity to complete the idea, which was to put a trail on top of it. And out of fairness, I believe that I would like to support it because it's a complete package, partly because I really love the idea of having a trail that goes from Boston to Northampton. I think that's, someday.
Yes. Any other comments? Seeing and hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous.
Do we have that letter signed
Yes.
as part of the package? Okay.
Yeah. We do. Meeting minutes of February 11th, 2025. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the minutes of the February 11th, 2025 meeting as written.
Second.
Any comments, concerns?
I did notice in one place that Courtney's name was misspelled.
Thank you. What's that?
Under board member updates, the second paragraph, it says Cordy Fresh Up.
Oh,
New nickname.
Yeah.
Cordy. I'll call you Cordy. All right.
Take a while to live that one down. I'm
Well-
assuming that's what AI does for our.
Since nicknames are terms of endearment, I'll accept.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I had, it's a question about the production of the minutes, is that fair to ask now?
Sure.
So I remember at our last meeting, we talked a lot about names or he or she or whatever.
Yes.
did you guys have to work hard on these, or are these mostly AI generated?
They are mostly AI generated,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
With a little bit of a tool at the beginning that Denise was able to wrangle, and we'll
Okay.
try tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I don't consider that a substantive change, so we don't need to change the motion or withdraw it at all.
Yep.
Any other comments?
Everything else looked good.
Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good old Xfinity.
Yes. Yeah, see, don't you feel, you
I
know,
do,
just
I do.
they're wrapping their arms
Feel
around
loved.
you again, Hector?
I feel validated,
I do,
just,
I do.
you're seen.
And I will take one final motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
I.
Thank you all very much for attending, and we look forward to our next meeting in 2 weeks.